Paris, August 1911. The heat was oppressive, the kind of thick, unmoving air that settled in every alley, every room. For weeks the city had simmered under a relentless heat wave. Its residents retreated to shade and stone. The great boulevards emptied. The Seine ran sluggish and quiet. Inside the Louvre, the most celebrated museum in the world, even the echo of footsteps was rare. The galleries were still, silent, cool in their fortress of stone. But somewhere in that silence, something was stirring. Sunday, August 20th. The museum was nearing closing time. The last of the tourists filed out, unaware that among them, or just behind them, was a man dressed in white. Not a visitor, not a guard. Not exactly a stranger either. His name was Vincenzo Peruggia. He was 29 years old, born in the quiet town of Dumenza, Italy, a painter by trade, a handyman by necessity. He'd once worked at the Louvre, installing protective glass over paintings. He knew its halls, he knew its weaknesses, and that night he knew exactly where to hide. He slipped unnoticed into a small storage cupboard on the second floor, a cramped, narrow space wedged behind gallery walls. He would spend the entire night there, crouched in the dark, alone, just feet away from some of the greatest art in human history. It was a Monday. The museum would be closed. Only a skeleton crew of staff would be present, just as Peruggia had planned. At precisely 7:15 the next morning, he stepped out into a near-empty museum. No guards in sight, no cameras, no alarms. In the Salon Carré, a room that housed some of the Louvre's finest Italian works, the Mona Lisa hung on the wall, modestly. Not yet a cultural icon, not yet a global obsession. She was a portrait of mystery, yes, but not fame. That too was about to change. Peruggia removed the painting from its mount. He took it to a nearby stairwell, removed the frame with a screwdriver, wrapped the canvas in a white cloth, and walked toward an exit. But the door was locked. Then came a stroke of luck, or fate. A plumber, on his way to a repair job, passed by. He saw Peruggia in his white smock, and assumed he was a fellow worker. Without question, he opened the door, and just like that, the Mona Lisa was gone. It would take 28 hours for anyone to notice. That week, museum staff had been removing paintings to photograph them. Empty spaces on the wall were common. No one thought much of it. Not at first. But when the photographer returned on Tuesday morning and found no record of the painting being moved, a quiet unease spread through the gallery. By Wednesday, unease turned to panic. The Mona Lisa was missing. The news spread like fire in the cafes of Montmartre, on the boulevards of New York, across oceans and borders. The Louvre was shut down. French detectives flooded the museum. Clues were few. All they found was a wooden frame and a single fingerprint. It led to nothing. Soon, suspicion turned to artists, collectors, even celebrities. Pablo Picasso was questioned. The poet Guillaume Apollinaire was arrested. American millionaire J. P. Morgan was accused of commissioning the theft. None were guilty, but all were suspected. For 2 years the trail ran cold. Meanwhile, rumors multiplied. The Mona Lisa was on a ship to Buenos Aires, or hidden in a Belgian warehouse, or sold to a private collector in New York. Theories flourished, leads went nowhere. All the while, the painting remained exactly where it had always been, in Paris. Just 2 miles from the Louvre, in a plain apartment on the Rue de l'Hôpital Saint-Louis, Vincenzo Peruggia kept the painting hidden in a wooden trunk with a false bottom. He lived with it in silence for over 2 years. The police would visit him twice during that time. Both times they left empty-handed. He had once been fingerprinted for a prior offense, but only his right hand had been taken. The print on the painting's frame, from his left, he had outsmarted them, entirely by accident. I wish only to return the Mona Lisa to her true home, to Italy, where she belongs. In 1913, growing restless and perhaps feeling forgotten, Peruggia wrote an anonymous letter to an art dealer in Florence. He offered to return the painting, not for money, he said, but for pride, for Italy. He signed the letter simply, Leonardo. The dealer agreed to meet. Inside a modest hotel room, Perugia unveiled the painting. The dealer, stunned, immediately recognized it as the genuine article. He promised Perugia a reward, but instead he called the police. The man who had fooled the world was arrested that same day. The Mona Lisa returned to the Louvre in January 1914. Within weeks, she had become the most famous painting in the world. What Da Vinci's brush began, Perugia's theft completed. He turned a Renaissance portrait into a modern myth. In stealing the Mona Lisa, Vincenzo Perugia gave her to the world.